Okay, thanks for joining me here. So we're just going to be going through how to apply the Powergrades and LUTs and how to use them, I guess, in Resolve. So the first thing we'll need to do is actually put a particular LUT that is in the Powergrade folder that you guys would have received. Put that LUT into the Resolve LUT folder. So the way we'll do that is we're just going to the project settings here in the Files tab. And then we'll go to Color Management. In Color Management here, and then we'll navigate down to Lookup Tables. And we'll open up the LUT folder, and then you'll need to place the Blackmagic Control LUT, which will be in the Powergrades folder. Put that into here. Now you can put it in whatever folder you want, or you can just put it here like we have here. And the Powergrade will rely on this particular LUT in a particular node. So now that we've got that in there, what we'll need to do is click Update List. So this will update Resolve so that you don't have to close Resolve and open it back up again. So you can click Update List. Once that's done, we can then click Save, and then we're right to go. So let's get started, I guess. So I've already got the clips already here in Resolve that we're going to sort of be looking at today. A lot of these I have sort of showed online previously, but we'll go through and just sort of look at how to deal with these. So we'll go over to the color tab here, and then all of our clips are already in the timeline here. So I've got a double up of all the clips so that I can sort of show you how to apply the Powergrades and then also how to apply the LUTs. Now I've already imported the Powergrade into here by simply just right clicking here, import, and then finding your Powergrade here, and then importing it here. So the final version at the moment, or the current version, is the version 3.2 Powergrade that was released, I think, on the 7th of April. So if you haven't got that yet, just remember to go to your account on MediaHire and download that. It's got the latest stuff in there. So that's the file here. So let's go over to grading our first image here with the Powergrade. So we'll go to our first image here. And you can see already that this has pretty much already been graded to some degree. So this is straight from their website. And you can see that it already has some of these gamma controls here that have been adjusted and are not the default. And the reason for that is just their project, what project they had here. Now, pretty much what we want is these values. So you can just adjust those manually back to what they are. Typically, if you're shooting your own footage and then you just bring them straight from your card over to your computer, these won't be adjusted. So you won't have to worry about this sort of phase. But just remember to make sure everything is back to default in the gamma controls, and obviously there is no LUT being applied in post. So what we'll do is we've adjusted those back to default. And there is no LUT being applied, so we'll just I like to have a highlight recovery tick. Now, depending on the type of footage, you may not want this specifically if you're looking at the sun or some really bright objects. It may cause some issues having that ticked, but in this particular scenario it's probably not going to be doing anything anyway, but I just have it ticked anyway. So what we'll do is grab our Powergrade and we'll put it here, and straight off the bat this is what we get. So as you can see, it's already pretty well graded here. It's done a pretty good job of rendering that out accurately as to what we wanted the grade to be like. But there are a few adjustments that you can make yourself in this node. Sorry, in this grade, but adjusting the nodes here. So there are a lot of nodes here that are changing a few different properties of the image, but the primary ones that you'll probably want to be looking into first is the teal node, the orange skin tones node, and then obviously the saturation node at the end. Now the teal node here is responsible for sort of adjusting the image except skin tones. Now probably the easiest thing to be doing with the teal node, or a lot of these nodes, is to simply just adjust the gain, and then that will adjust sort of how much of that is being applied to the image in this particular circumstance. So not everything is supposed to be this blockbuster kind of look, like a Jason Bourne look or something. So you'll want to maybe adjust that probably maybe to around here, and that's sort of just making everything a little less teal. I suppose. But without having that applied to the image, you can see that it doesn't look as good. It's sort of less flat, but you can obviously disable this node. But enabling the node sort of brings back that kind of feel to the image here. Now there is the orange skin tones node as well, so that changes sort of skin tones, I guess. And so you can do the same sort of thing. You can adjust that key here. Now it will adjust certain other colors as well. So you can see the purple on her hand is adjusting a little bit, and that's just because of the sort of color spectrum that it's in. Now set by default is probably the best thing to be doing for this particular node, but you can adjust that there. Now the saturation node, same sort of thing. That's really just saturation on the whole image, because we've sort of desaturated a lot of things in here. But you can obviously just decrease that again to sort of bring it back to just a less saturated sort of look. And that's probably more important when it comes down to probably less lighting and lower ISO values, but it's just important to know that you can sort of either disable it or you can adjust the output here. So moving over to the LUT, applying the LUT to an image. So this is the same image that we had before. Just remember to reset these if you're using Blackmagic RAW footage. And then we will just apply the LUT here to the image. Now you can see straight away that it's changed it quite a lot. Now, being Blackmagic footage, which is good, we can adjust the color temperature. Now we can obviously do that in our Powergrade as well, but it's very important to be doing in our LUT, especially if you're going to be burning the LUT in, so to make sure the color temperature is correct in the camera. So by adjusting the color temperature here, you can see that's doing quite a lot, but it's obviously not applying the color temperature as evenly to the entire image, because the LUT has changed quite a lot with all the different, I guess, color values here. It's not going to be exactly the same as the Powergrade. So just keep that in mind. The LUT is not exactly the same as the Powergrade, but it is very similar. So with the LUT applied here, something that I like to do prior to the LUT is do any sort of adjustments. So the LUT is destructive, so you've got to make sure that you're doing your adjustments previous to the LUT. So for instance here, what I'll be wanting to do is maybe just apply some mid-tone detail, and that's pretty good, but you can adjust like maybe some shadows if you want to increase some shadows there, and then maybe just decrease the highlights to sort of offset that there. So this is sort of just some basic stuff that's happening here. You can obviously in your exposure tab, adjust your exposure in here if you like, and then obviously being Blackmagic RAW, you can more or less just adjust your ISO to something that you like. 640 is pretty good. This was shot at 800. I would have shot this, if I was the DP, I would have shot this a lot lower, because there's not a lot of light here. You can see sort of the values here in the waveform. He could have really shot this at 400, which I think is the native ISO for this camera, and just adjusted the ND filters to bring out the most amount of the image, because 800 is all that's really doing, is just adding noise. That's it. Just pretty much that's all it does. So moving over to another image here. We've sort of used this one a bit because it's got some good skin tone details here. It's actually made in the 4.6K Pro though, but it does show sort of what we want to do with the image. So we'll just change this over to clip so that we can have a look at the raw sort of settings here. So they're all default, which is great, and then we'll bring our sort of adjustment in here. Now straight away it's looking pretty good. We don't have to adjust too much, but you can see that in this particular image there is a lot of difference between skin tones and the background. It's got a very teal orange look, which some people might enjoy quite a lot. I know we do, but it's not for everybody. And being this particular scene with a wedding or something similar to this, this kind of look may not be what you're going for. So again, what we'll be doing is going into the teal node here, and then we can adjust that probably quite a lot in this particular circumstance to sort of remove that background teal. So we just halve that. Immediately that's sort of giving us a bit of a different image. And then probably what we can do as well in the saturation as well is maybe bring that down just a little bit, and then probably just adjust our color temperature down just a little bit as well, and then that's sort of the image that we get, which is pretty good. We can obviously adjust that further if we wanted to. We could apply all these back to their regular values, and then this is sort of the image that we had. Sort of the image that we had originally, which is quite blue, but you can in your teal node adjust that quite a lot. Now applying the LUT to the same image, same thing. So we'll go into our raw tab here and we'll just make sure those are on default. Then we will apply our LUT, and this is the image we get straight away, which is pretty good as it is. It's a pretty good image, but again, we'll just add a serial node before that. Maybe we'll bring in some midtone details, increase the shadows just a little bit, offset that, and then probably decrease the tint just a little bit. Maybe just a little one there. So that's a pretty good image. I'd probably just increase the color temperature just up a little bit, and that's looking pretty nice from the LUT. So just by, for instance, if we didn't want to be adding another node, so pretty much we're just only using the LUT, this is what we're looking like, and then probably I just adjust this exposure up just a little bit. Being the 4.6K, we don't have as much ISO adjustments here, but this is our image, straight out, which is pretty good. Just applying the LUT and no other adjustments, and then again, just with some adjustments on there, it's more, it's probably a little bit more pleasing, at least to my eyes here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can obviously do a bit more with ProRes footage as well, but just to keep the video a bit shorter, I think we'll probably just leave it there. ProRes footage does pretty much the same thing as the Blackmagic RAW footage. The only difference is you don't really get access to the camera raw tab, so just make sure that you have your color temperature set correctly. Then you won't really have any issues. If it is set incorrectly, you can always just navigate to the temperature sliders here and change the temperature. But that's pretty much it. I know I made this image a little bit more blue here, so we'll just put that back to how it should have been. Around there, yeah, it's a bit better. Yeah, so thanks for having a look with me at how to do this, and yeah, we're really interested in getting feedback from you guys as to different LUTs and grades and things that we can update and do for you guys. So just send us a message on Facebook, or I don't know, get in touch with us, send us an email or something. We're happy to yeah, update where we can. So just leave us a comment if there's yeah, any sort of suggestions. That's it. Alright, thanks guys.